Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Serious Sellers Podcast by Helium 10. I am your host, Bradley Sutton, and this is the show that's a completely BS-free, unscripted, and unrehearsed organic conversation about serious strategies for serious sellers of any level in the Amazon and e-commerce world. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to go to the younger e-commerce world, and we're interviewing 4 teenagers today. Now, before I go further, I want to make sure that, obviously, that if you're a teenager out there, you definitely need to listen to this episode because it should be hopefully inspiring for you. But regardless of your age, don't tune out, guys. This is going to be for everybody. Why do I say that? Well, number one, you're either a teenager yourself. Number two, maybe you're older, 30s, 40s, 50s. You have a teenage son or daughter, or even a younger one, and want to have a plan for their potential e-commerce future. Or you have friends who have kids that are the age of our guest today. Or just think about it yourself. Once you guys see how these 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds are crushing it, and you're twice their age or something, maybe you've been hesitant. Maybe just listening to their stories is enough to give you the motivation. Like, if this person is a senior in high school and grossing $600,000 a month, what's stopping me? All right. So regardless, I think of what age you are, I think you guys are going to find some benefit from this episode. Now, today we're going to talk to 4 different people of different backgrounds. They're from different countries. We have somebody who is a virtual assistant. We've got somebody who started when she was like 13, 14 and already had hit the 6-figure mark at that age. We've got somebody else who's a full-time student in high school and last month grossed, I think it's something like over $500,000 in 1 month, and he's still a full-time student in high school. And we have somebody else who is only 15, and he's been doing different jobs here or there, making money. And I think it's going to be very inspiring for you to hear some of their stories, especially, like I said, you youngsters out there who might think that this whole e-commerce, thing is you got to be a graduate of college, or maybe it's for your parents. No, guys. Regardless of your age, I'm not talking like 5 years old, all right? Regardless of, if you're like a teenager already, like, you can get into e-commerce. And that's not the case in every field. How many jobs can you do out there, outside of, babysitting or mowing lawns and things? What are you doing if you're a teenager, or what are your friends doing to make money? You parents out there, what are your kids doing, or your kids' friends doing to make money at the age of 14, 15, 16? Maybe this episode will give you guys some new ideas to see what's possible. So let's go ahead and introduce our first guest. All right, so we've got actually, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. So go ahead and say your name, where you're from, and how old you are.
Okay, so my name is Salman. I'm 16 years old and I'm from Pakistan, Karachi.
All right, excellent. Welcome, Salman. Now, question for you right off the bat is, I haven't been to Pakistan yet. I'm actually going there. I don't know if you heard, I'm going there later this year. I'll probably be able to meet you in person. But, typical person your age, 15, 16, 17, would you be working now, or are you just going to school, or like, a lot of your friends, what are they doing?
Okay, so for school, they're online right now because that COVID scene. And for my friends,
Hmm.
I did try to convince a lot of them, but no use.
Yeah. But like, what, I'm just talking in general. You said you're from Karachi. So like the typical 15, 16, 17-year old, like, for example, here in America, I don't know, maybe 25% of those your age, maybe they're working, McDonald's or doing like, minor jobs here or there. Is it similar over there, or do most students just concentrate on school and they're not trying to get a job until later?
So if you ask for the typical mindset, it's like we are on our parents' money till our graduation or till our masters. So that's the typical mindset over here.
Ah,
You don't work till your parents are
so
like,
so then not a lot of kids your age start working.
I've never seen any kid my age work until I came to e-commerce.
Okay, excellent. So at what age were you when you started, getting into e-commerce, and what was the motivation? Like, like you just said, most kids your age in your area, that's not something they even think about. So like, why did you think of it?
When I started, I was almost 15. I started with content writing, and the motivation was that. So this is the second part of the story. The first part, everyone knows the first part, that I mostly wasted my time on Netflix. The second part is I wanted to buy a phone, and my dad refused that if you want to buy one, you gotta get one yourself. So that was the original case that got me into all of this.
Okay. Okay. So then what did you do? You Googled like how to make money or like what did you do?
No, so this random day, I was like watching Netflix, and my dad came, and he was standing by me. He said that you go on YouTube, watch what freelancing is, how freelancing is done, and I was like, why? But he stood there by me until I closed Netflix and I put something on the TV. So the first video I saw, it was really very interesting, and I did think that it was doable. So I thought, let's give it a try. And from that day, that video changed my life.
Okay, so then did you like make a profile on, like Fiverr or Upwork or something, or how did you put yourself out there in order to get your first job?
Initially, I joined Facebook groups as I didn't know much about Fiverr and Upwork. I still don't use Upwork that much because sending proposals over there is very hectic, and I still don't get it. So initially, I worked on Facebook groups, but was unsuccessful in getting many clients. So on my cousin's recommendation, I tried to approach websites. After approaching those websites, they actually took me seriously and appreciated my content. And after that, I just wrote for websites, not for clients.
So then what do you mean by go to the website? So you find a business's website and then what did you do?
So they were magazines like stories and articles. So the first one was Cracked. The second one was Income Diary, and the third one was E-commerce Insiders. These are the three core websites that I wrote around 50 articles for.
So then you like what? You approach them or you find the website, you find their contact information, and then you say, "Hey, I would like to like write a blog, for your website," or what was the angle there for you?
Okay, so first off, I went to their website. I checked their existing articles on their requirements for what they require of their writers. I checked my own content if my content had the requirements. I emailed them my content and got a great response.
Okay. And then these were for free or they paid you to do this?
In the start, Cracked was free, but after my blogs were getting 150 to 200 people, they starting paying me.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Now, this is I'm assuming like maybe when you're still like 15 or something, but then as the months and the year went on, now you expanded a little bit more to e-commerce, like doing what was is it like listing optimization or what did you kind of pivot to from writing blogs and content? What did you change to?
Okay, so from the beginning, some clients did approach me for listing writing and description writing, but when my cousin gave me a brief description about Amazon, I actually found this interesting. As in content writing, you satisfying someone is a very big deal, and this is way better and easier than content writing.
Now, I mean, you probably don't have the exact number, but about how much money did you earn last month in January? Would you say from this all this work that you're doing?
I guess $840.
So, like you said, the typical student your age doesn't even work at all. But comparing that to typical worker in Pakistan, like an adult, who's working full time, just office or fast food or something like that. What does a typical entry level adult earn in the job industry? Not talking about e-commerce, but just like at a McDonald's or something in 1 month.
A newbie, you mean, right?
Yeah, like I'm not talking about a lawyer or some business professional, but people who have their first job, maybe it's working in McDonald's or it's working as a full-time janitor or something like that, like how much would somebody like that expect to make in a month, an adult?
Around $150 or $150 or $200 or $250 at max.
So you're making like four times the amount that a lot of adults make even in your country.
Yeah, yes.
That's crazy. Uh, are you making more than your parents make? Are you richer than them yet?
No, I'm not richer than them, but they're still proud of me.
I assume you were able now to go ahead and pay for your own phone.
Yeah, I bought two of them.
Two phones. Oh my goodness gracious. All right, so then you're working all these hours a day. What's the biggest thing or the biggest time drain for you? Like what you're spending most of your time on doing?
I spend most of the time in sourcing. That's a very
Oh,
crucial
really?
part because in my family history, I've been really bad at bargaining, and now I have to do it. So it's challenging.
So then companies get you to they say which product they want, and then you go to factories to try it and source it.
Okay, so I provide A to Z services. So sometimes the seller tells me to like hunt a product for them. So I research for the product, I source it, I launch it, and we make money.
Have any products that you have launched for other companies? Like, what's like the best one that you don't have to tell me the product, but like, what's the best result from it? Like, hey, now it's selling $5,000 a month, or now it's selling $10,000 a month.
Okay, so the launch I did in UK was my second launch. The total budget we had for it was $7,000. We spent $6,000 on it, and it's making over 15,000 now.
All right, awesome, awesome. All right, well, we do something on the podcast show. I don't know if you heard Sakib's episode. Everybody does it, but we call it the TST 30-second tip. So it sounds like you have experience with sourcing and launch and listing optimization. So, what would be your 30-second tip on a strategy that you think not everybody knows about, but something that would really help people, regardless of their age, on
For
Amazon?
sourcing, I never tell the supplier that I'm the owner of this company. I always tell them that I am the regional manager. So the trick behind it is when you tell a Chinese supplier that you are the owner, they're like, okay, he's not gonna deal with us for that long. So yeah, just we'll just tell him a high price and we'll just do some tweaks and he'll get on us. But when you tell them that you are the regional manager, they actually take you seriously. That this is his job. I mean, if we don't give him the best prices, he'll just move on to someone else. So this is my tip and trick for sourcing that has helped me a lot.
All right. Well, Salman, thank you so much for coming. As we usually say in this show, how cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. So I believe that's kitna cool hai kafe cool merkashia. But anyways, thank you for coming on the show, and we look forward to seeing what you got going for you in the future. All right, so now we got a guest here. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, your name, how old you are, and where you live?
So my name is Solid. I'm based out of Oakland, California. I'm 15 years old.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so now your friends 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, are any of them working? Like, even I'm not talking about e-commerce, but like usually 15 is like the absolute, I forget what it is here in California, but like, isn't it like 15 is the earliest you can get job at like McDonald's or something?
Yeah, I think it was 15 or 16. I had a previous job
Okay.
that I gonna quit, but yeah.
Well, what did you do before?
So I went to this tutoring place, and so then I got offered to work there. So I worked there for a couple months, and then COVID hit, and then I stopped. So I don't think I'm ever gonna go back.
Okay. Okay. So, that's more of like, I guess, a typical teenage job.
Yeah,
But then what you're doing or you've been doing is not typical
yeah.
teenage job. So like, when did you first discover kind of like the e-commerce opportunity, and how did that even happen? What was it, because of the COVID thing and you had to stop that other job? You were just trying to look for other ways to make money, or what
I mean,
happened?
once COVID hit, I started iPhone repair. I was doing that, and so I was making a decent amount. But then I realized that there's Amazon, and then I was like, there's an opportunity there, and I was like, it's a lot like eBay, but a lot easier. And so I just kind of got into it, and then it just kind of scaled up from there.
Okay, so what was your first thing that you did getting into Amazon? You were doing drop shipping? Were you doing arbitrage? What was it?
It was arbitrage, but I started off because I didn't know about arbitrage yet, so I was just doing books. So I was just buying thrift store books and selling them. I was making a little bit, and then I got introduced into arbitrage, and then there was a huge product during this time, which was around December, November, around that time. It was patio heaters. They were selling for around 300 to the markup was huge. You can get them for 150 at Home Depot. They're selling for 300, 320. I just rinsed and repeated that, and then just killed patio heaters during that time.
So were you like having Home Depot drop ship to people, or you'd buy it at Home Depot and then ship it yourself to customers?
I'd buy it from Home Depot and ship it myself.
Okay. Now, how did you even like get your own Amazon account? Like, did you have to have your parents? Does it have to be under your parents' name, or did you have to make a company and then put it under their company name?
No, I did it under my parents' name.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. They weren't worried that you were gonna like kill their credit, or were they like trying to check what you're trying to do, or?
No, yeah, I've used their information before for Shopify stores. They all failed, but I've tried a bunch of other things with their information.
Okay, so they trust you.
Yeah.
They know that you kind of knew what you were doing. That's cool. So then, you would find the product on Home Depot. You see that on Amazon, it's going for more, and that you could source it cheaper. So like December and January estimated gross sales of what you were doing on Amazon. How much total you think you did?
For December and January, well, December was crazy. It was 140,000, and then January was 33,000. So
Okay, so that's almost it's $175,000-$200,000
Yeah.
gross sales. Like after all your shipping cost and other fees and Amazon fees, like how much net profit you think you made?
I think it was close to 45,000.
45,000. So that's all in the bank. Did you do anything like crazy? Any big purchases, or buy a Rolex watch or a car or anything like that?
No, I just kind of saved it all, and now what I'm doing is buying. I just dump everything back into the business. I haven't spent a single penny.
All right. Now, what's your projection, or like what's your goals for this year? Like, are you happy? I mean, obviously, because the heaters wasn't sustainable necessarily, because January maybe the market caught up, or you were making only a smaller number than you did in December. Like, what's going forward? Are you just going to stick with this arbitrage model? Are you looking to pivot into something else?
Well, right now, for January, the patio heaters completely died. It just flopped. I mean, the holiday season, nobody was really buying them. And then now I was just starting, like online arbitrage. So buying stuff from whatever's on sale. There's like plenty of stores that have sales right now, and I just buy stuff from them. Like I have around like 60 pairs of Nike sitting in my living room right now that are all 40% off.
How many hours a week are you putting into this? I mean, obviously you're a full-time student. Now I know in California it's pretty much all online for the most part. So that makes it a little bit easier, I suppose. But like, how many hours a week are you putting into your businesses right now?
I mean, it's hard for me to give like an exact number, because I don't just sit down and just do that for like a couple hours. Like I'll get up and do something else. But I think it's close to around 50 hours a week. Around 50 hours a week. Somewhere around there.
Yeah. So I mean, that means, somebody your age is making some sacrifices. That's less, PlayStation or watching TV or going out that some of your, your friends might be doing, but they also don't have $40,000 in the bank now. So that's kind of cool. So you mentioned you're just like, you're trying not to spend the money. Are you doing anything else with it? Like, do you just have it in a savings account so you can get some interest, or is just you have a big pile of cash under your bed, or what's going on there?
Right now, pretty much all of it's back into products that are like selling by the day right now. So I pretty much don't have it right now. It's just all in products at this point.
All right. Now, one part of the show that we always have here is we call it the tss, or the TST 30-second tip. So, you've given us already some strategies here, but take a second and think about what is something that you could say in general to anybody interested in e-commerce that you think is highly actionable, pretty valuable, like a unique piece of strategy that you do that will take 30 seconds or less. And it could be about, your arbitrage. It could be about retail arbitrage. It could be about online arbitrage or anything at all.
You're gonna have to cut a lot of stuff out. So your video games. I mean, you can still play video games. There's nothing wrong with video games, but if you say you don't have enough time during the day to do something, then you're gonna have to cut something out because it's either you have the time and you're doing something else, or you don't have the time and your just schedule is like completely packed. So I mean, it's you can see where you're leaving time on the table and you're not using it. So saying you don't have enough time or you don't have, because I could say you can easily say you don't have the resources, but not saying you don't have enough time during the day to do something when you're spending time watching Netflix or playing video games. I'd say you can make time during the day to do pretty much anything.
All right. Excellent, guys. So, and I think all of you out there can definitely see that, that kind of determination pays off. And, he's maybe done some sacrifices for some free time, but that stuff doesn't, that's not something that gets you through life. It's not PlayStation, so, making an extra $40,000 in a couple of months, those are the kind of things that can really change somebody's life. So, Salih, thank you so much for coming on here, and we wish you the best of success the rest of this year and onward.
Thank you, and thank you for having me here.
All right. Why don't you just introduce yourself, your name, how old you are, and where you live?
Sure. My name's Jake Lewin. I live in Los Angeles, California. I'm 18 years old. For the past 4 years or so, when I was a freshman in high school, I started my first dropshipping business. Fast forward 2 or 3 years later, I started my own leggings company, and we're now focusing on an exit, kind of as we speak right now. So,
Cool. All
thanks
right.
for
Now you're jumping way ahead. You're jumping way ahead. Don't get too excited now, Jake. All right.
Okay.
Now I want to get a little bit more of your backstory here. So you said you started about like 4 years ago. Now, I think most people who live in America kind of, know what typical people 14, 15, 16, 17 years old do for, I don't know, like maybe 25% of people go out and work, and it's usually like fast food. Like, would you say that's the case with some of your friends, like who were your age, especially when you were like 15? Those who did work, maybe they were working kind of like minimum wage type jobs. Would you say?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's people who worked, people who didn't work, of course.
Okay. All right. So then what was your original, since it's not typical, to go and, hey, let me go ahead and start a leggings company is not something that the common,
Mhm.
15, 16, 17-year-old decides. Talk me into when you first got into e-commerce. I think you said it was when you were a freshman in high school. Like what prompted that in the first place?
Sure. Yeah. So when I was in eighth grade, this kind of started even before it. I wanted to build an app. I didn't know how to code. I really didn't have much experience or knowledge under my belt. So, um, you know, I was really limited in my options to make this app. I could either, spend a few years learning code myself, which I wasn't necessarily interested in. I was definitely interested in the business and marketing side of it, but the app itself, I didn't really care for. Or I could hire a developer to kind of do that for me. So, when I started e-commerce, I kind of,
This is when you're in the eighth grade. These things are going in your mind.
yeah, when I was in eighth grade, um, I was a weird kid.
You definitely march to the beat of a different drummer as opposed to your peers, back then, and it's for the better. Not a lot of people are that ambitious. In eighth grade, I don't remember what I was thinking. I was just thinking about like, oh my goodness, like what is up with these shorts that I have to wear for gym class. It was kind of like the top thing on my mind, not trying to hire developers for an app, but that's kind of what was your first, kind of taste of financial success where, I mean, these are all ideas and stuff, but then, I'm assuming at some point, some of these turned into some monetization for you.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it took like a really long time, and I didn't expect it going into it. So when I first started, I think for the first full year and a half or so, nothing hit. I think I had even lost money. My dad gave me like a $300, $400 starting point or something. And I think I had lost all of
Okay.
that. Um, but somehow I forget how, but somehow I was able to make enough money to start a drop shipping skincare store back in, I believe, January of 2018, 2019 maybe. And I was able to run that up to um, almost 100K in revenue, but none of the revenue made from that store was actually profit. I was kind of just burning through money, and it was more of like it was my first taste in what this was. So it was just building up revenue, kind of seeing how it is. So the actual revenue made from that store did not make me any profit, but I ended up selling the store for, I think, $15,500, and I guess that would be my first taste of any money at all beyond 300 or
How
400.
old were you when that happened?
I was a sophomore in high school, so probably like 16.
So then, sophomore in high school, 16 years old, you just got a check for $15,000. What did you do with that money?
I think I saved it for quite a bit, but I continue to make more drop shipping stores that were, startup costs of like less than $1,000. So I kind of continued what I was doing. I didn't necessarily like jump right into it, like investing in it or anything like that. And then maybe like I think a full year later, I'd started my current store, which I'm selling, or my current business, which I'm selling right now. And yeah, that money kind of just was in my bank account for quite a bit. I really didn't spend much at all.
Okay. Then you were making some decent money, one out of an exit, and then maybe others were have cash flows. Or what kind of inspired you to start your own brand? The leggings company.
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of actually goes off of your last question, where like I didn't see drop shipping as that sustainable anymore. I didn't want to source product from China and have the customers wait 30 days or whatever it takes to get there, where there's very small retention rate. I wanted to build something that that was more than just for money, I guess. I definitely wanted a brand that I was passionate about, and I think from the get go that was kind of my goal even before starting drop shipping, just to make something that I'm proud of in business. So I think that making a brand over drop shipping was how I kind of did that.
Okay. And then how did you choose the leggings industry?
Yeah. So leggings actually started out as a drop shipping store. That was just one of many products I would test. And that product originally started out as a women's cellulite, like anti-cellulite type of legging, like for middle-aged women who have saggy skin and are maybe insecure about it. That would be what the product is for. We kind of flipped that on its head so I have a co-founder in this as well, and credit to him, he invested I think $12,000 into the business when it was definitely not worth $12,000. It was more of just
Mm-hmm.
almost like a charity to me. But we ended up making it work, and using that money, we were able to finally purchase inventory of a product that we had kind of, had proof of concept for. And we eventually expanded into, from a middle-aged demographic more to like a Gen Z demographic, 18 to 24 on Snapchat and TikTok,
Okay.
or Snapchat and TikTok are kind of our bread and butter for this brand.
Cool. Now, like let's say January of 2021 this year, estimate on what your gross sales that came from that brand.
Yeah, around 760, I think.
$760,000. And is this all Shopify? So then how did you scale up so fast? I mean, you kind of mentioned TikTok and Snapchat. What was your strategy on how you were able to get a brand that, before you started it, nobody had even heard of? How did you get it to be this, this brand that's doing high six figures every month.
We were lucky enough to have, bought a large amount of inventory between Chinese New Year, right after Chinese New Year and right before the coronavirus started, which I think probably a lot of other, definitely drop shipping brands couldn't have done that. And probably a lot of other brands um, didn't choose to do that immediately. So yeah, we had purchased all this inventory, and definitely by luck, we, this coronavirus struck, and it was terrible in a lot of ways, but in other ways, it really did help the business. Considering a lot of the it kind of seemed like, Snapchat, for example, it almost felt like we had the platform to ourselves.
What's on the agenda for you? Like your goals for rest of 2021 and next year? You said you're looking to potentially exit, and sell the business.
Yeah, so we just received an APA today, actually, to sell the business. So I think, for Light, it did start out as a drop shipping store, and it's like it was turned into a brand. But overall, I think going forward, I'd want to develop something with, I guess, a little bit more substance, something that I've designed or researched. So yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna end up doing. But getting just cash for a sale like this can definitely help me kind of reach the next stage in building a brand.
All right, awesome. Well, Jake, thanks for coming on the show. I'll be giving you your social media links at the end of the episode here. But it's really cool to see someone your age with that kind of drive, and we wish you all the best of success in the future.
Thanks, Bradley. Appreciate it.
All right, everybody, we've got our last guest up here, and welcome to the show, Michaela. How's it going?
I'm so great. How are you doing?
I'm doing just great. Could you introduce yourself, like where you're from and how old you are?
Cool. So I'm Michaela. I am currently living in Utah right now, and I am 19 years old, turning 20 soon. So I will not be a teenager for very long.
Excellent. That's why we had to record this show early. Now you're 19 now, but when did you get started into e-commerce? How old were you, and what inspired you to get into that?
Okay, so I like to say I was tricked into it. My parents like to say that they parented me into it. But I started my first business and got into the e-commerce world when I was 13 years old. My sister and I both started our first business. I was 13, like I said, and she was 10. And we were probably one of the couple of laziest teenagers you have ever met in your entire life. Like paying our brothers to do our chores, reading until we were like the lazy nerdy kids. So like reading until like 3 in the morning, not getting up till noon type situation. And my parents were like, no, okay, no, you can't do this anymore. We are giving you 3 options. You can either 1, do more chores, 2, move out of the house, or 3, start a business.
Okay.
So being 13, I was like, I am not doing more chores. I do not get paid to do these chores. No way. And then moving out of the house, I just moved out and I was not ready then. I'm kind of okay now, but definitely wasn't ready then. So got left
Okay.
with making
So-
a business.
So you got started when you were 13, 14. Now, where was this in Utah or was this somewhere else?
This was in Utah, yeah. Yep.
Okay, so then, when you're 13, 14, 15, I asked the same question to the other guys who are on the show, was like, all right, people your age and where you live, what's the tip? What do they do? So, I mean, in this country, it's kind of illegal to work necessarily, for, when you're 13 and 14, you can't even work at McDonald's, I don't think. But when you were like 14, 15, did you have any friends who were working and making money as well, or were you kind of like the only one?
Where we lived, and so I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a Mormon, and we start babysitting. It's kind of like this weird culture thing. As soon as we turn 12, everybody hires us as babysitters. So all of my friends were babysitters, but they were making like $5 an hour. So I did it in a better way.
Yes. So what was one of your first ones? I know you started early and you had some success, but what was the most successful thing you had from between the ages of 13 and 16? Like which business venture really worked out for you?
So the biggest one that I had in that age, and I guess still up to this point, is that we sold over $100,000 in our first 9 months when I was 13. and my sister was 10. So that's kind of
Good
like
grief.
been the
What was
coolest
that?
thing.
Like a Shopify website or
It was on Shopify, yeah. Yep.
what were you selling? So that same one, you're still selling, that website still
Oh no,
exists now?
no, we just shut it
Oh,
down
okay.
last summer just because we were selling scarves, like infinity scarves, and that trend kind of like fizzled out. So
So how did you discover that? That opportunity, I should say.
so my mom actually had started her business and she was kind of like, hey, I want to test it out on my girls, see if they can do it, if I'm just like a one hit wonder or something. And so she sat us down and was like, hey, here is the structure of what you can do. First off, we're going to pick a problem and we're going to find a problem that we can solve. And so when she was like saying, what kind of problem do you want to solve? I screamed world hunger at the top of my lungs, knowing thinking that I could do that. But my mom was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
hold on, let's start with something a little bit more manageable. And my family, me and my mom were always cold no matter where we're at. And so we're like, okay, we can kind of help tackle this problem. And then she was like, okay, now that we have a problem that we're going to solve, what is some trending products that we can find that'll help solve this problem? And we saw that scarves were trending, like the infinity chevron scarves. This was back in like
Okay.
2013, 2014, when those like scarves were really big. And so we're like, hey, we'll
Mm-hmm.
jump on this trend and sell those.
Okay. So then, did you have it manufactured in USA, in China, or where did you get the scarves from?
So we got them from China. My mom had gone over to China quite a few times, so we were able to, my sister and I were able to contact the manufacturer and be like, hey, do you think you can make these for us? And they're like, heck yeah.
So then, 13, 14 years old, bringing in that kind of revenue, what did you do with all the money that you were making?
If it was up to me, I would have spent it all on gumballs. I absolutely love gumballs. They're like my favorite thing. But my parents took it all and put it into a college fund and then paid us 10
Okay.
bucks an hour when we were actually working on the business. So,
Wow. Okay. Okay.
yeah.
So I'm assuming you're in college now.
Yes, I am in college right now.
So then, is
And
that right now fully paid for by that money that you made way back then?
yes, sir.
So no student loans or anything like that right now.
Nope.
You see
No.
that's got to feel good.
Oh, it's
Any parents out
fantastic.
there listening are like, that's music to my ears. College is so
Yeah.
expensive these days.
Oh, yeah.
What was your like responsibilities? Like you were still getting some money, out of it, and I'm assuming your sister too. So what parts of the business were you managing?
So my sister did more of, so me and my sister ran it 110%. Like my parents were busy raising my brothers, raising us, running my mom's business, so they were hands off of this. And the only reason why I clarify that is because there have been people who are like, no, 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 your mom did this for you. And so
Uh-huh.
I have to be like, no, she didn't. It was my sister and I. And so my sister was doing more of the front end design of the website where she was taking pictures and like just making the product and the website look pretty and like doing all that. And then I was on the back end doing inventory, counting, and making sure it all set up on the back end nicely so people were able to go through and click. And I contacted influencers, and me and her, we both packaged and shipped products out.
Now, you say you work with other teenagers looking to, start, possibly becoming entrepreneurs. You don't have to mention any names or anything like that, but any stories from your students or people in your network that you can briefly recount of how, hey, this person was just doing nothing and now they're doing this, like something you can say to inspire other teenagers out there?
Yeah, so most of the students in my program don't have these crazy huge stories because that's not what they're going for. They're going for the little bit of money so that they can play on the weekends and then fill the waters and make sure that that's what they want to do. And then they can take off. They can ask me questions and I can help them through whatever like their next steps that they want to go. So one of my little neighbors actually, she's in the course and she bought these little scrunchies when they were going, and in her first day of selling them, she made over $200. And that was just from like reaching out on her Instagram and being like, "Hey, I'm selling these scrunchies. Let me know if you want any." So literally, like, as my mom, okay, my mom always says this: you just have to put offers out there, and if you don't, you're not going to make anything. And if you do, people are going to respond.
Awesome. All right. Well, at the end of this episode, guys, I'm going to have, like I mentioned, the contact information and social medias and websites for everybody available, so you can reach out to any of the guests we had, including Michaela. So, Michaela, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll reach out to you next year, even though you won't be a teenager anymore, and let's see if you hit that goal of yours.
Heck yeah! Thanks for letting me join you.
Well, I hope you guys found this episode inspiring, regardless of your age. One of the morals of the stories here is that none of these kids, were born superheroes or with superpowers. All right. It took a lot of hard work and some ingenuity and determination to get started at their early age, and they didn't view their age necessarily as an obstacle. What about you guys out there? If you're a teenager, don't let age be an obstacle to get started in e-commerce. If you're 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, don't let age on the other side, be an obstacle. Don't let other things be an obstacle. If you have a job already, here are kids who are full-time students and still crushing in e-commerce. You can do a little bit on the side too. If you guys would like to, find out a little bit more about them, I have some social media handles for you. Our first guest, that was Salman, and his Instagram, I'm going to spell it out here. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, maybe they'll throw it up here on the screen, but it's SalmanGhori 40. Salman Ghori 40. That's his Instagram. He was from Pakistan, and the really crushing it as a virtual assistant. We also had Saleh on here, 15 years old, been crushing it and doing arbitrage and other endeavors as well. If you'd like to follow him on social media, you can get his Instagram at ITZXSALIH. ITZXSALIH. All right, these guys are crushing it in e-commerce, but they are not crushing it with picking their Instagram names. These are like impossible to remember. So I hope you guys wrote that down. The next one, Jake. We talked to Jake, who started the Leggings company. All right, so if you'd like to follow him on Instagram, Jake did it right. His Instagram's easy to remember. It's at Shipments, like literally Shipments, SHIPMENTS. If you'd like to check out his leggings company, it's lightleggings.com, LYTE leggings.com. And finally, we had Michaela here, who started a six-figure business when she was 13, 14 years old. If you'd like to follow her on Instagram, her handle is Michaela.Prince. That's MAKAYLA.Prince. Michaela.Prince. And if you want to go to her website, it's michaelaprince.com. Well, guys, like I said, I hope you found this episode inspiring. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, I have an easy one to remember, H10 Bradley. All right. Let me know. Hit me up on Instagram. Let me know who is your favorite guest or most inspiring guest from today or in any of the other episodes. Hit me up on Instagram. Or what I love to see is, people who take selfies of themselves listening to the podcast in different places. Post that to your story, tag me, and I'll repost it. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode.